Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a long overdue episode of the Logical Layman podcast show. Um, it has been a minute. Had some personal issues I was dealing with, so took a lot of time off. Anyways, I'm not really going to be a scheduled show. I'll at least try to do at least once a week. If there's anything major comes up in the news that I feel might want some attention or talk about, then I'll try to get on here more. Anyways, jump right into it. Today, what I want to talk about is the big distraction in the news. If you've been paying attention, I'm sure you know what the distraction from. But anyways, let's see what I've been looking at here. So the narrative from the right and going over social media right now is that Obama is going to be arrested, which I don't know that he is. I would like him to be because of things like Fast and the Furious, the droning of an American citizen, and other things. But let's see what we're talking about today. Tulsi Gabbard has, not today, but this month, Tulsi Gabbard in the last few days has referred information to the Department of Justice regarding the Obama administration's handling of intelligence assessment of Russia interference in the 2016 election. Now, the Russia stuff was a hoax. I do believe that. The whole thing, the Democrats were trying to say that Russia interfered and helped Donald Trump win the election. But people that have paid attention since then know that it has already been proven that it was Hillary and Obama that were colluding with the Russians. In my personal opinion, both sides do it all the time. There, I sound like a conspiracy theorist, but they're all working together for the new world order. They don't care about the civilians. Sorry if there's a little bit of static in my mic. I hear it through my earphones, and I'm over here on my soundboard and can't figure out how to get it to quit. Hopefully it's not coming through your end. But anyways, yeah, so this is the biggest distraction now. I'm sure you know what it's distracted from. But since it's in the news, we'll talk about it a little bit. As you know, I love to use allsides.com, so we're going to go look on there. Let me back out because I had already gone to the center. Okay, here we go. Now, if you go to allsides.com, if you don't know why I always use allsides.com, they are the only media source that I personally know of. I'm sure there's more, but they give you all three sides to a story. They'll show you how the left is pushing their spin on it. They'll show you how the right is pushing their spin on it. And then they'll give you the center right down the middle. No bullshit bias. So here, as you can tell from the left, they're not mentioning anything about an arrest. They don't want that into their little cult members' heads on the left side. That Obama's safe, he's alright, this is all bullshit. So we can't mention arrest. So from the left, they say, Gabbard threatens Obama officials with criminal referral over 2016 election assessment. On the right, the Department of National Intelligence Gabbard sends declassified evidence to the Department of Justice for possible prosecution of treasonous conspiracy. Now the right has to put that out there. They want everybody on the right to believe that Obama is being arrested. There is a possibility, but as of right now, he's not. This is a referral to start an investigation, which, like I said, that's a good thing, but you can't jump the gun and say he's being arrested. Anyways, here's the center. This is the favorite ones I always like to go to. They just straight up tell you what's going on and how the other coverage is. So here, Gabbard claims the Obama admin manufactured 2016 Russian interference narrative in a new report. The Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, released a report on Friday that claimed that Obama administration officials manipulated intelligence regarding Russian interference in the 2016 election. Gabbard accused former officials of engaging in a treasonous conspiracy and stated that her office was submitting evidence to the Justice Department for potential criminal action. The report asserts that there was no evidence that Russia manipulated the vote count directly, which was what the left was trying to claim when they colluded with Russia during this whole. In my opinion, like I said, don't ever take anything I say for fact. My hope is that you will go look for this stuff. Don't let the media, the left or the right, I don't care what side you're on, you need to realize that whether you're left or you're right, you're just in a separate denomination of the same cult, and that cult is called the two-party system. It is one singular entity that is meant to divide the United States citizens. You might want to try to get out of it. But anyways, don't let the left stream media or the right stream media tell you how to feel or what to believe, because that is what they want to do, is pull on your heartstrings to get you to agree with them. They say, oh yeah, that shouldn't happen, so they must be right, because look at, they made me feel, it touched me in the feels. As the logical layman always says, fuck your feelings. Use your logic. Use your own thought process. I mean, you could read it, and we were taught this way back in the 80s at school. You got to pick out the fact from the bias, and then take that fact and go look everywhere you can to find information about that fact, whether it's right or it's wrong, and then form your own opinion. As soon as you read something, don't say, oh, that's it because this source said it or this source said it. No, go look up other. There's always two sides to just about everything you're going to look up, and then you got to use your logical reasoning to figure out, are they lying about these numbers? Where did that number come from? Just like I said, don't take my word or any media word for fact. Always do your own research. I don't care what it is. Anyways, back to this. There was no evidence that Russia manipulated the vote count directly, and it named key figures such as DNI James Clapper, CIA Director Brennan, and former FBI Director Comey. For context, previously a bipartisan Senate investigation found Russia tried to interfere in the election via a social media campaign. Now, that's what I was talking about. If you remember, during that time, you really couldn't share any right-wing views on social media. So that right there tells you Russia wasn't working to help Trump, because they had this full-blown social media campaign that was pushing out an agenda to make you think things. But even Zuckerberg just admitted earlier this year that he was told by the left what he could push, even when it came to COVID and all that stuff. He was not allowed to post. Myself and a lot of people I know, I'm not right-wing, but just because I would post something that didn't agree with the left, I would get a warning and say, we feel that you're sharing extreme right agenda, or extreme, and they were shutting people. You weren't even allowed to talk about the Hunter Biden laptop. They act like that didn't exist, and people were getting banned left and right, and now we have Hunter Biden's laptop. This is, the left did that. Now, don't take that as support from me for the right, because the right does it too, and the right's starting to do it now that they're in charge, just how the left did. Once again, two denominations, one cult, the two-party system. Here it shows Democrat reaction and Republican reaction, but I don't give a damn about that, because the point of what I'm talking about today is this is the major distraction from the right, and we all know what it is, but just in case you don't, let's look over here at the Epstein files. This is, my opinion, the most important thing in the media right now that they want you to forget. They might as well put the men in black on the White House press conference and push the button and say, you didn't see anything. What are you talking about? Here we go. February 27th, 2025, this year, Pam Bondi, in conjunction with the FBI, declassified and publicly released files related to the convicted, I'm sure it says sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Now, that was in February of this year. Remember, they made a big spectacle out of it. They had files. They invited all of these social media influencers and gave them these little folders that said Epstein Files Phase 1. And turned out there was nothing really in them. It was bullshit then. They didn't want to actually release them. But they had to make it look good for the media because during Trump's campaign, he promised that along with the JFK and Martin Luther King, that the Epstein files would be released. That was one of his campaign promises. Until it came time to release them, I'm pretty sure they looked at him and seen that he was on there. Again, this is not an endorsement for the left or the right because they're both full of shit. Now, Trump, after they do this in conjunction with the FBI gets on the media and says there is no Epstein client list. Epstein never paid anybody. Nobody ever paid for services. Nothing never happened. There were no clients. Ghislaine Maxwell is in jail for nothing. Pretty much what they said. And it's bullshit. There is no possible way you can tell me that when, if you look back at the Epstein flight log, which in my opinion could be interpreted as a client list. I'm not saying everybody on the flight list was a client. I'd be willing to bet at least 50% of those people that flew to his island were clients. At least the minimum. So, if you remember when the flight list came out, it was mostly Democrats. You had Clinton on there, and Obama. It was wild. And the Democrats did not release a client list. Now, Trump is claiming that the whole thing was made up by the Democrats. That the Democrats orchestrated and made this false hoax to try to bring him down. They were in power when the flight logs were released. And they could have brought Trump down. They could have stopped his first term. Never happened. That's because Democrats are on the client list and Republicans are on the client list. Namely, in my opinion, I believe 100% Trump is on the client list. That's why he's fighting so hard. Pretty much all the, I won't say all, but most of the prominent figures of the left and the right are more than likely on that client list. That's why neither side did never release it and won't release it now and probably never will unless they're somehow forced to, which is what Thomas Massie is trying to make happen. Thomas Massie is a hell of a statesman, one of the best representatives that have ever been in Congress. That's why Trump hates his ass and is trying to have him ratioed out of his job. He's tried it before, and it will not happen. I hope it does not happen. It should not happen. I don't believe it'll happen, but Trump is trying it because he stands up for the citizens that he represents. And he doesn't like the adding to the budget and the reckless spending and the deprivation of rights. He's one of the, like I said, he's a statesman. He's a real patriot. He understands the Constitution and wants to stick by it, which none of these other guys do. They don't give a damn. So that's what we're looking at here. Represent Massey and kind of seek the House vote on the public release of the Epstein files. Really hope this happens. It needs to happen. There is one thing I like about it, though. It sums up. I made a post the other day on Facebook that this sums up the American political system. You have people on the left and people on the right thinking that they're big shit and owning the other side by posting pictures of Epstein with the guy on the other side. The left and the right is doing it, and they feel like, oh, look, it's a gotcha. And then somebody comes back posting Epstein with Trump somebody posting Epstein with Clinton. And it's both sides. Like I said, people need to wake up and realize you just belong to two separate denominations of the same cult. You're being blinded with emotions over logic. And if you remember, when we were in school, they used to teach united we stand, divided we fall. The two-party system, which is a singular entity, is meant to divide so you can fall. And if you fall into it, you need to start using your logic. And as I always say, fuck your feelings. Start thinking. Just wake the fuck up. Both sides. We're in this shape because everybody wants to play the two-party system. Now you got Elon talking about a third party. As far as I remember, there's about 7 fucking parties, so it wouldn't be a third party. In my opinion, political party affiliation should be banned. Totally banned. If you're going to do what's right for the people, there should be no party behind you saying you have to do it this way. Because as soon as that comes into play, you're not doing what's right for the people. Even if you think it's the best thing going, and you know that it would save it, but if your party's not for it, you can't do it, you're fucked up. That's not being a patriot. That's not being a statesman. That's not caring about your country or your people. That's putting your party above everything. And both sides do it every cycle. Every time they vote on anything, I don't care, you can look back. Democrats have put out a piece of legislation, the Republicans vote against it. The next cycle comes, the Republicans have put out the same kind of legislation, Democrats vote against it. They do not give a fuck about nothing but their party. They don't care about you, but they'll make you believe that you believe the same thing because they want to pull on your heartstrings and say, oh, it affects this family. Not the millions of people in America. It affects this family, so you need to go along with us, even though last cycle we told you it was bad because the other side was doing it. This time we need it because it affects this one family and our side's doing it, so now you should vote for it, even though we told you not to last time because the other party was doing it. I don't see how people don't see this shit. It's just an endless cycle of flip-flopping back and forth depending on what party is in charge, and none of them want to do what's for the people. So. But one more thing I want to get into, especially for you people on the right that are hardcore brown-nosing Trump's ass. Sure, a lot of people probably haven't seen this. Now, if you type in Trump and Epstein lawsuit, this is what you're going to get from the mainstream media at first. Trump files a lawsuit over Wall Street Journal report on Jeffrey Epstein. Trump sues Wall Street. Okay, that's fine. You know, he's going to sue him thinking that because of the report. But this is the lawsuit that I was talking about. Doe versus Trump. Just reading just the little headline. Plaintiff Jane Doe proceedings under a pseudonym brings this action against Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Now, back when this was going on, if they didn't hang out or socialize together, why would this victim name them both in the same lawsuit, alleging that these things happened at the same time? Doe versus Trump, I urge you to look that up. We'll click on it here and see if there's anything I can read real quick. This is in the United States District Court, the Southern District of New York. Plaintiffs are, now remember, this is the same case. Jane Doe is the plaintiff. Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey E. Epstein are the defendants in this case. They demanded a jury trial. Jane Doe under a pseudonym brings this action against Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey Epstein that alleges that plaintiff is an individual residing in the state of California. Upon information and belief, defendant Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey residing there. That's not important where they live. Here it is. This is what she's alleging. Rape, sexual misconduct, criminal sex acts, sexual A, forcible touching, assault, battery, intentional, reckless infliction of emotional distress, duress, and false imprisonment. This is what this victim accused Donald J. Trump and Epstein of inflicting upon her together. The plaintiff was subject to acts of sexual misconduct, criminal sexual acts, sexual A, forcible touching, assault, battery, intentional and reckless infliction of emotional distress duress, false imprisonment, threats of death or seriously bodily injury by the defendants, Donald J. Trump and Epstein, that took place at several parties during the summer of 1994. New York and Manhattan. First, second, and third degree are, like I said, folks, look this up. Doe versus Trump and Epstein. I'm not going to get into it. I've read the whole thing. It's pretty bad. The thing she's alleging. Apparently, her mother tried to pull the lawsuit because Trump was threatening to kill her. Allegedly, like I said, you know how that goes. But anybody who's up Trump's ass and thinks he just walks on water and shit doesn't stink, just look this up and do your own digging. And remember, like I said, the time was 1994 when this allegedly happened, and she sued them both together, even though Trump wants to act like they never hung around, never socialized or anything. But yeah, once again, back to the original start of this topic. I do hope Obama gets arrested, even if it's not for this. They need to look more into the Fast and Furious operation. He should have been tried for the droning of an American citizen.